Hi, Stephen Rosey, PGA Professional, Glenbervie Golf Club here. Now I've come upstairs in our indoor putting studio today and I'm going to show you a very quick tip how you can improve the consistency of your putting. If you ever get frustrated with your inability to start the ball in the direction you intend, then this tip may well help you become a much more consistent putter. So what this little tip involves is putting our hands on the putter in a way that will try and minimise the amount of rotation about the long axis of the shaft. So when the putter moves, ideally we don't want too much of that. So as the putter's going back and forward through the stroke, the more of this rotation that goes on, the less predictable it is where the ball's going to start. So if we can put our hands on the club in such a way that minimises this, we can make life an awful lot easier and we can move our putter through the stroke in a much more effective fashion. Now don't get me wrong, there will be a teeny bit of rotation going on and that should be there. I don't advocate in any way no rotation. We do need a little bit to help the flow of the stroke, but we want to keep as much of that out of play as we possibly can. So how are we going to put our hands on in a different way that's going to cut down this rotation? Well, I'm going to steal a couple of terms here from movement science. Supination. We're going to put our hands and we're going to turn our palms against each other a little bit. Supination, rotating so that the palm faces up the way. A little bit of that. And if I turn to the side here, a term called ulnar deviation. We're going to have our small finger move nearer to the ulnar bone that's on the underside of your forearm. And that would be distinctly different from the way we would have our hands on for a normal shot. You can see there, this would almost have a little bit of pronation and it would also have the opposite. My thumb is nearer the radial bone, so we've got this slight upward cock there, and that gives you the opportunity to generate speed. But with our putter, we want touch and control, so we're going to put our hands on in a slightly different fashion. So what's this going to look like when we're over the ball? With a full swing grip, we might see arms hanging straight down, golf club coming out at a different angle here. With the hands on in a slightly different fashion, a little bit of ulnar deviation, a little bit of supination, we'll start to see something that looks distinctly different. And one thing that you'll often see in all really good putters is the shaft of the golf club is almost an extension of their foot. In other words, thumbs pointing down to the ground and maybe a little bit more at the side of the shaft rather than our normal grip might look like that. A quick example of this in practice. You'll see here both pictures. Left hand side was the start, right hand side was little adjustment to the hand placement as we've described, and you can see there the relationship between the right forearm, the shaft of the club, all now looks in a line. Here we've got this more, I guess probably would see for full shots, a grip and a wrist placement that's suitable for that. There's a little difference in that the putter then sits more a slightly more upright angle, 70 degrees rather than 67.9. Now if I have a wee look at what we recorded with the SAM system here, which looks at and is able to measure the amount of rotation in the putter head on the way back and the way through. So just very brief explanation here, club head rotation here, this was before, so at the end of the backswing the putter is pointing almost 6 degrees, face is pointing 6 degrees to the right of the target, comes back to square. With the slight adjustment to the grip, we've almost half the amount of rotation there. Just underneath here, there's a couple of graphs here. The left-hand side one, which is really interesting, which really maps that out back to impact. So it starts on average about 6 degrees open, comes back to square, and then closes relative to the target line. And you'll see the difference in the gradient of those lines here. And that's really an indication that the rate of rotation with the adjusted wrist position, with a little bit of supination, a little bit more ulnar deviation, thumbs pointing a little bit more to the ground, has quietened down quite a bit of that rotation. An already good stroke here. But if we go down to the bottom here, we look at the rate of rotation, pre-change, 25.5 degrees per second across the impact interval, which is about 10 centimetres before, 10 centimetres after impact. It's quietened right down to 11 degrees there. So a significant difference, and the player should see a huge difference in the reliability of the starting direction in all putts, really. So there we are, guys. Give that a wee try. A little bit of ulnar deviation, a little bit of supination, and get your hands on in the putter in a different fashion, so that when that putter moves through impact, we've got very little rotation going on there. Very little rotation will allow you to control the launch direction of the ball with much more confidence. So there you are, simple tip for more effective putting. I hope you all enjoyed watching, and more importantly, I hope you're able to put it into practice and see some improvement in your putting. Hopefully before too long, you'll be spending an awful lot more time picking the ball out the hole. This is Stephen Rosey, PGA Professional, Glenbervie Golf Club. Remember, if you like what you've seen, please subscribe, and any questions, I'd welcome them in the comments section.